Hi everyone, my name is Philip, and today we're going to be talking about pivot tables. So if you do any spreadsheet work at all, I'm guessing that you've used pivot tables before, but if you haven't, then this video is for you. So we are going to start with just this flat array of data, not even formatted as a table. And we want to start to play around with it without wasting time setting up formulas. Okay, so we've got this export or we've got this log and we want to make sense of it. Well, let's select the range. So let's go top left corner, shift, control, arrow right, hold shift and control, arrow down, go up to insert, pivot table, from table range. You can see that it's selected here. We're going to do existing worksheet and enter. And then we arrive at our pivot table interface where we can start to make sense of our data by just literally moving things around. Right? It's very intuitive, very straightforward, and just like that, voila, we've got this beautiful looking, well formatted table that we didn't even have to sum. In fact, it even tells us at the bottom our total quantities in this case, 337, our total cost, 264. But there's a few too many decimals in there, right? So you just click into the field, value field settings. You can see we do want to stay on sum, but we want to get rid of these decimals. And just like that, our quantity is nice and tight. We'll go with total cost next, and we'll keep it with currency. So you see what I did there? Value field settings. And there you have it. Again, still gives us our totals. And that might be all we need. In fact, you can even simplify it more if you don't want to show, say you just want to look at purchase order level, say you just want to look at customer level. Again, you don't need to do any crazy formulaic arrangements to get this data at your fingertips. But let's say we want to add columns after the fact. Now there's two ways to do it. If you don't mind altering your data set, so say you took a raw export, you may not want to actually touch that raw export. You um, you might want to keep it unaltered from exactly the way it came out of the system that you exported it from. Or again, maybe it comes from a log, and the log of data, say this is like a log of purchase receipts or transportation trips or whatever, we don't necessarily want to add a bunch of columns to that log. We want to keep the log to the bare essentials. The pivot table is where the analysis after the fact comes. So real quick, let's say we just wanted to find one extra column, unit cost. Okay, so we've got the total quantity, the total cost. We're just going to calculate it in the table itself that we selected from. So it's a quick division. Total cost divided by total quantities gets you your unit cost. Right corner, double click, flash fill. And just like that. Now, how do we add it in here? Well, again, you're going to click in your pivot table here. You're going to go up to Pivot Table Analyze, and you're going to go to Change Source Data. Click on that. You can see this unit cost that we've just created is not included. I want you to hit Shift, bottom right corner, and you can see it's extended the range. You can see it here. Hit OK, and then look at that. Pops it right into the table. But again, maybe we don't quite want to add columns to our table. Again, go back into Pivot Table Analyze, change source data, and let's kill that extra column. So again, we're back to our unaltered and initial source of data, just that raw export of that raw log. And we're going to create the calculations within the table itself. So again, you're going to go up to Pivot Table Analyze, you're going to go to Fields, Items, and Sets, Calculated Field, and we're going to call this Unit Cost. And you're going to go here into the formula, total cost, so double click, or again, you can, it's very intuitive, but you can go to Insert Field, divided by quantity, insert field, hit OK, and just like that, it adds it right in here. Go in here, value, field settings, number format. We do want this in currency. Hit OK, OK, and there you have it. From the total cost and the total quantity, we've derived a unit cost column right within the table itself. We didn't have to play around with changing the source data. We didn't have to alter the initial data set. We're able to basically section out our analysis into a pivot table that kind of lives on its own, right? This is like the first step toward querying, right? When we start to get into Power Pivot and Power Query, where we're pulling data from another source, this is kind of how it works, right? You query from a raw data set, and then you do your analysis and make your changes, do your data cleaning within the query without actually having to touch the initial data. So it's actually really good for traceability purposes because you don't have to lose that trace back to the initial data source that the analysis came from. So anyways, pivot tables are the first step in that direction. Again, you can change the design of it too. So right next to pivot table analyze, design, subtotals do not show subtotals. Perhaps you might even want to show it in a tabular form. Really, it just depends on how you want to view it. This is how I prefer to view it. And then this is where you can actually get into doing stuff like this. Move it around, right? You can filter by date. You can see on July 28th, this customer, there's the quantity, there's the cost, and then there's the unit cost that we've derived, right? Let's say you want to do a quick erasure of filters. You just go into clear and clear filters. Don't hit clear all, otherwise it'll erase your calculations and basically erase the interface that you've set up. But you can do things like this, right? Say you wanted to have some conditional formatting built within, right? You can do some color scaling like this. And again, it will carry as you start to filter, right? You can see that everything kind of stays contained as long as you set the range within the filter itself, within the table itself. Any conditional formatting that you've applied will stay with the column. And I think that's a good start. That's what we'll leave it at today. But again, this is the first step toward pivot tables, and it gets a lot more complex from here if you need it to. But generally, it's kind of like that. I don't know if it's the 80-20 rule or whatever, but you know, a fraction of the functionality of something like a pivot table you use the vast majority of the time. So that's basically all you need. Turning a flat array into an analytical interface like this that allows you to move data around without having to do any formulas. But I think we'll leave it there. That's all for now. Thanks, everyone.